Oh, hey, thanks for being willing to jump in. Sorry, I missed your message about being willing to being available to do it
Yeah,
until
man, no
a few
worries.
minutes ago.
I know you're probably in a rush getting off work and
Well,
getting
there's
ready for
always things like that. I got to get off work, got to get home, got to this, got to that.
the.
Just always perpetually behind. But yeah, man, thank you for being willing. I should have thought to reach out to you. I always kind of forget that you're there as well, and I mean, which sounds bad. I'm like, I forget you're there, but I if I would have thought of it, I would have hit you up earlier and said, "Hey, you available or interested?"
Yeah. So what are you working on? What
Well,
page is
so
this?
this is just another one of the pages to the book. I don't have like a page count because I do it in a really like I don't know how to put it. I don't work from like a script where it's all worked out page by page. It's like page one is this, page two is this. I just have the basic plot script, or not script, but just the basic plot,
Yeah.
and kind of free form it and just kind of go. So I've got something like 40, 50 pages done. I'm not sure exactly sure which page this is.
Gotcha. Well, I was working on this page, but I'm almost done with it. So I think I'm going to start on a different page for this stream here.
Yeah.
Looks like my words are. I guess it's flipped backwards, so it reads backwards.
Not from what I see.
Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah, it looks like I can read it clearly. It says got it and whoa and
Okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah. So whatever the reason for that is, I couldn't tell you, but all right. So you're on. What are you working on? Issue
This is
six?
issue 4 of my 4-issue miniseries. So yeah, so it's getting close to the end. I've got like 2 pages. You know how my comics are broken up into short stories.
Yeah.
So this short story has 2 pages left, and then I got one more story to finish for issue 4, and then yeah, pretty much just like cover and stuff like that, and then I'll be done with that issue. But just trying to work through that.
Yeah. So you said issue four, but so you did a couple issues. I'm just when I thought you so you have a few issues, like you did a few to start one or two, and then you did started a 4 issue miniseries. Is that
Right.
right?
Yeah. So total, this is my 6th issue, but I just of this miniseries, this is the fourth. Four out of four. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's what I kind of had in mind. I forget that. Yeah, that you were doing like a mini series, which now I remember, of course. But I mean, 6 issues of a book is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, I talk about this often. How there's a lot of people that talk about what they're going to do and then they never do it. But you are over here making the thing. It's actually happening and produced, and you know what I mean. So there's something to be said for what you've produced. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I will say that I do have some experience at this, at least a little bit, that may have made it easier than just starting. Never having done this before, because back in the '90s, I was working on a book, and I did about 5 issues back then.
Oh wow. Well, that's awesome. See, we got someone saying here, and we got I'm that nerd saying, "Hey, and where's the merch at?" Um, I would say like your stuff definitely to me is like I was kind of saying this like it's got such a visual appeal, like a marketable appeal. I can see your drawings and designs and stuff on like t-shirts and stuff like that. I could totally see that.
Yeah, man, that's the goal.
You're like, yeah, that's what I want. Make the money on this. Let's do this.
I tried doing like t-shirts on Spreadshop or whatever it's called. I don't know, man. I just didn't like the quality. I mean, they're okay, but after a couple of washes, they wear out and all that. So
Yeah.
I might try to revisit that one day.
Yeah, it's awesome. We got Courtney here. What's up, Ms. Courtney? And there's Chuck. who was like, "Are you doing this damn thing or what, man?" Like, come on.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah. Yeah, this is Dan's first time. He was kind enough to jump in at the last minute. Because Jessica, um, she's her family's going camping this weekend, and so I guess they were getting their camper pulled out today and getting it prepped to go. So
Man, I love camping.
I haven't been in so long. When I was married, we used to go quite often, but now that I'm on my own, I'm like I don't have any of the supplies or the means or anyone that really to go with. So I'm like, fine, I'll just stay at home and draw comics, I suppose. Courtney says both our drawings are looking great. Yeah, we got Dan here doing the awesome digital stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed easier. I want to be able to go back one day, or in the future. I'm thinking about, you see a lot of people do the pencils on, digitally, and then print out the blue lines. Thinking about maybe trying that, but you'll, if you watch me, you'll see I undo a lot. So I'm kind of scared of that.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've seen people do that. I know a lot of people do it. The first time I ever kind of noticed paying attention to someone who does that, just because I was watching their page closely, is Ryan Otley that did it does Invincible or
Hmm.
you ever followed his work?
Yeah, man, I'm not really into comic books that much anymore, as you
Right.
that might be surprising to hear me say. But I am familiar with his work, yeah, but not all of it.
Yeah, he used to always do everything by hand, but eventually he was showing his processes of how he works out all his pencils, compositions, and that type of stuff on computer, and then prints it out, and then
Right.
inks it to have a final version. As far as I understand, that's what he still does. And I thought that was a really interesting way of doing it, where you get kind of the advantages of figuring things out digitally,
Yeah.
you're able to like manipulate and move compositions around and all that kind of thing. But then you still end up with a black and white inked page, a physical piece, which also for him creates a secondary market of selling the original art.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was like a really interesting. I'm like, oh, that never even occurred to me that just to utilize it that way.
Yeah, man. Like that comic that I was mentioning that I did back in the '90s. I did all that physically, and I my apartment, the living room. I just had all the pages tacked up on the wall, and man, I missed that.
Yeah, I never put them up on walls, but I would take my pages off and I'll spread them out. I like for some reason my eyes just wants to see them scattered out all together, and so I could kind of see them as a whole. And I don't know why. It's interesting. It's kind of a weird like why do I want to do that? I don't know why, but it's something we all do. I think.
Yeah.
I know I keep telling myself, there are advantages. I keep thinking of if I ever to try digital, it would be to do exactly what you just kind of mentioned of, you know, working out the penciling stage and then inking it still traditionally. I'm like, then my biggest problem, I know this is lame, is like I have to learn all the tricks of the device itself. And I kind of don't want to stop and
Oh yeah.
I'm like, because it's like I have to stop what I'm doing and learn a thing I have no idea how to use.
Yeah. So if anybody's watching me that knows Procreate, they'll probably see me doing a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense because I don't know how to use it the best way. Same thing you were just saying, right? I just try to get like the basics of what I need. Like I don't even know how to properly take advantage of masks and reference layers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really bad with the technical end of stuff. Like I've got Photoshop on my barely functioning computer over here on my desk to my side, but I don't know how to do almost anything on. I have just a very few basic steps I kind of understand to do cleanup and things like that. And occasionally, about once a year, what happens is when I'm ready to like I get my artwork scanned for my book, and then I've got to start cleaning it up. And I'm like, I got to move things around, or I got to change this. I got my buddy that I know who used to be a guy who did like tech advice over the phone for a job way
Yeah,
back in the day. So I'll text him. I'm like, how do you do this? He's like, oh, hit this button, this button, this button, then click this, and then do this. I'm like, how do you know how to? He's like, I used to be a tech advisor. People would call me and have to solve these problems on the phone all the time. I really know how to like. He's like, I used to do this for a job. It's totally easy. So then
yeah,
he me through how to solve these problems about once a year when I'm like at the digital cleanup stage. I'm like, it's so convenient to have a friend who knows what they're doing because I don't use it except really like once a year once I'm cleaning up the book, and so I forget what I learned a year ago.
sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Courtney, she's saying, well, if you ever try digital, I'd be happy to give you some pointers on programs. I bet I that yeah, I'm not gonna say never, you know. Um, but yeah, I know a couple of people that could give me some pointers, and Courtney, I definitely have to hit you up for, you know, someone says he says I love Procreate, but he says he uses it on iPad though. I think the computer version is more involved. That's interesting. I didn't know about that. I didn't even think about that.
iPad or Procreate on the computer?
Yeah, that's yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that,
Are you on an iPad? Is that what you're
yeah,
doing? On?
yeah. This is an iPad. I didn't know it was for the laptop or the desktops too.
Do you just have like a standard sized iPad? It's just like the same kind of thing like everyone has, or do they even make them in different like sizes? Like as
This
far as
is this was the biggest size I could get like 3 years ago. I think it's 12.9 or something like that. I don't know. I think that's the biggest. Yeah.
trying to imagine that. That's interesting.
I mean, it's yeah, and you can. I zoom in way too much. I watch other people and they talk about don't zoom in too much, and I think that's my lines are way too thick, and I think it's because I zoom in way too much all the time.
I've thought about that. That's one of those things where I was like, how do you? I mean, I know it's just a matter of practice and learning and trial and error, but you end up having to like, yeah, if you zoom in too much, you start adding all this detail or something, and then, but what does it look like on the printed page? Um, I think Chuck has talked about that. He said just a minute ago he had to go grab his dinner real quick and then he'd be back. But and I think I listened to McFarlane, uh, Todd McFarlane talk, and like he's like I could go in real deep, bud, and do all this detail real. And but there's no doing it because they ain't gonna show it on the page, bud. So I was like,
Yeah,
that would drive me nuts. I'd like, where's the limit? That's why I'm like, I just understand paper because it's right in front of me. I know what I'm doing, so I'm just like, oh, it's a lame excuse to not want to learn it, but I don't know. I just like drawing on paper. I just actually really like it.
yeah. I miss it, so I feel you.
Someone saying the Pro, yeah, 12.5 or something. That's what he has too. So there you go.
Man, I want them to come out with a bigger one. That's got to be coming, right?
You would think so. You think there'd be a demand there for it. What is it that I mean? I don't know if you know because, like, again, I watched McFarlane and he's got like a huge drawing thing that he works on. Obviously, it's not an iPad, but is it like a? It's like a big. It's a huge digital screen that you physically touch, just like you're doing there. Yeah, I wonder if is like a is it a like a Wacom or something like that, like a giant version? Is that what something like that might be?
Probably. They got different models that are like the professional, like digital people that work for like Disney and stuff. They probably have those massive ones with. I mean, like I've seen them. It looks like the size of a desk.
Yeah, the one I see McFarlane use looks like a massive drawing surface. Like I've got like this 11 by 17 paper on here, and it looks like it's almost like two of these side by side. I might just be
Yeah.
misperceiving the actual scale, but I'm like, if I could ever do digital, that's what I would want. You know, that just seems to me to be just because I could feel like I could work better the bigger the drawing surface, the smaller the surface. You know, the like the digital device. I feel like I'd struggle, but I'm also not a millionaire like McFarlane. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say those things are probably like a small car.
right, yeah, for real, yeah. Someone saying is saying you'd think, but consider they had to cut back on their production for their latest iPhone due to lack of interest. They may not be in a hurry if there are people demanding. I didn't know that about the iPhone. That's interesting. Of course, the economy is kind of slow everywhere for everyone, I think. So everyone's kind of, I feel like people are being kind of conservative and they're like, we're not going to go hog wild and make all kinds of crazy shit because everyone's a little bit hesitant to spend money, which is myself included.
Yeah, I got to get used to drawing with this camera in my face or in front of my face.
It's different, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
right in the way. Yeah, 100%. Like I'm like, my page right here because I keep it maneuvered, you know, to be in right and visibly seen, but right in front of it's the camera, which is where
yeah,
my head normally is. So I'm like you're like cranked off to the side, and it's a
yep.
little like awkward. So yeah, it's a little bit of a learning curve on this. Like, this is not ideal, but I do find these things fun to do. Sometimes I'm like, I gotta go do that goddamn live, or I gotta go make a damn channel. But once I get going, it's like, oh, I'm so glad I'm doing this. And so again, I know I'm saying it, but thank you for uh, jumping on. And
I mean,
someone's saying, like, whenever you get an opportunity, if like you can get the setup, like, so Dan here is just doing what we were talking about. He was kind of concerned about like there being a flicker, you know, with a camera looking at a screen,
oh.
but it doesn't do that. Like, I don't understand what the difference is if there's a difference with like an iPad and an actual computer or something like that, with like the frame rate and creating like a flicker, but it doesn't. You know, it looks pretty slick from what I can see. And Courtney's joined me before; she's done it, and of course, that poor girl's like sitting there holding her phone just with her one hand and drawing with the other hand. I'm like, oh, that's got to be a pain.
I would go insane.
Yeah, she's a trooper. She's joined up a couple times, and so you got like an arm to hold your phone thing, like I do.
Yeah, yeah. Because I've been I think I told you this. I'm pretty shy, but I want to try to break out of my shell a little bit, do more things like this. So I went ahead and got a little arm with the light and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really convenient. And I've always been the same way, and um I don't know, like Jessica just kind of kept encouraging me, like, start the channel, man, start doing this thing. And I just started doing it one day like a year ago, and um
It's what good friends do.
it is. And she was very encouraging, and I'm like, oh, you know, like I think a lot of artists are shy-ish types, you know, certainly is always me. And so that's why I'm kind of surprised when these things kind of like my channel's working for some damn reason, you know, like
Yeah.
it's kind of working. um I'm like, why the hell ain't anybody listening to me? I don't want to listen to me, but here I am now. It's got some momentum, so now I got to keep it up. It's fine. I'm not complaining.
You feel any pressure from all that?
I guess it depends on what in like pressure in what way.
Oh, I
What?
guess like always having some because you release daily and videos daily, and man, I just feel like I I try to post to Instagram daily, and when I miss a day, I feel like the pressure is on. You know?
Yeah. I've kind of talked about this with Jess. I didn't actually, I didn't have a plan or a goal in mind when I started. I'm like, let's just do this. No one's going to listen anyway. But I eventually just started. It just started coming out. I just started doing it daily, and then once I got going, I'm like, well, now I got to keep it up. And then it became a little bit of a uh like a, I don't know how to put it, like a goal, like a pride thing. Like I've been doing this every day for a couple months. Well, now how long can I go? I was like, I'll go. Let's see if I can make it 365 days doing a video every day, which
Yeah.
I did. And so there are times when it feels kind of like a job. Like, oh God, I gotta go do this thing. Um, and I also find that I have to kind of warm up, like when I sit down for the first day, or for the first time in the day, and like have to start talking about a comic. I find that if everything's going best possible scenario, I'll do 3 or 4 in a row, and then just be able to have them done so I can have them release on the channel, and then just sit down and work on the book. But when I do the first one of the day, I'm like stumbling over my words and kind of trying to find my way. But by the
Yeah.
time I'm done with the first one into the second one, I'm just kind of like free flowing a little bit easier and a little bit better.
Yeah.
And and there's like, and then what's funny is I'll go back, because again I do it the really stupid way of I record it and upload it. I don't do any editing almost ever. And then I catch myself having like said something wrong or stupid or the incorrect thing. I'm like, well, there's no fixing it. So, oh well, I maybe that's part of my quote unquote charm, is the like, well, he just kind of just goes on there and just starts talking.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, watching your videos, it's understood that that's kind of the format. So even if you kind of start rambling a little bit, or you make a mistake, it's, I mean, the way you present yourself in the videos, you can tell it's just from the, shooting from the hip. Here we go. Whatever happens, happens, and I think that makes it okay.
Yeah, I hope so. And it's just I've had some people say that they kind of liked it because it felt. Someone said the one thing that kind of made me feel the best about it is like they said it feels like just kind of like having a conversation with a buddy about comics,
Yeah,
talking about it. I'm like, I kind of like that. I'm not
yeah,
trying to be a comics historian or anything like that. I'm just talking about the stuff I got and what I think about it, and just kind of just 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 yapping about it, just talking about the book, not trying to be like, this is what happened on this date and this is the fallout of that with that creator. It's just, this is just what I liked about it.
yeah. And I agree with that assessment. That's what I like about it. It's just kind of like hanging out with a buddy and going over a book.
And when somebody said that, I was like, I actually like that. I can't, whoever said that, I was like, in my head, I'm like, thank you. That's what I needed to hear. That's kind of like what I like. It's somewhat different ish. So, and I mean, there's other people that do kind of the same thing, but I'm not like completely unique, but it's kind of working somehow. So I'm glad. I'm like, I'm content with it. I'll just keep going, even though people say, I've had some people tell me, you need to change, you need to do this. Like, nah, I'm good. Um,
Got to make it the way you want it, and you're the one working on it. If you make it the way, if it's not the way you want it, then you're gonna get tired of it.
yeah. I mean, if it was somehow I was able to sit down and like transition this into doing it almost full time, I could see like wanting to do some different things, just like my sense of humor, the funny side of me. It was like, oh, it would be funny if I could interject this or cut to a video. I always have these ideas, like when something comes up in the video, like I'm doing on this book, and I think of something funny or something like that, cut to a scene of something else where just for like half a second it flashes a phrase or a statement that in my head is funny, and then just come right back to it. But
Yeah,
I you know I got a job, I got things to do, and I would rather put these out like this on a daily basis than um, go through all that editing process and only have them once a week or something like that. That's the trade off, I guess. So I don't know. It's fine. I'm kind of content with it. Let's see. I'm getting backed up on here on some of these um, comments here. Someone saying he was talking about the digital device. He said it's hard for us artists to remember that not everyone uses these things for drawing. Like, yeah, everyone uses them for all kinds of stuff, but us artists are only concerned about what we want. Courtney says I've used Photoshop, Sumo Paint, Clip Studio, Media Bang, IBIS Paint, GIMP, and a few others. Damn, she's used everything. Let's see. Wiley J. Draws asks, "What comics are you viewing tomorrow?" Tomorrow is the Todd McFarlane drawn issue of Cyberforce from the Image crossover, or Image crossover month when they all switched books, and kind of my least favorite of them all.
Man, when are you gonna do some Punisher books?
I've done a couple, but I do have more. It's funny, my brother over on his channel, he's just went through a whole Punisher series. He really collected those a lot. I've got a couple, but I do have some sitting out that I should dig into them for more variety.
I only asked because I was going through some of my old comics last night, and I found a big block of issues of Punisher, and I was for some reason you popped in my head, and I was like, I wonder if Rob has done any, but I don't remember any of them lately. So I'll have to look back at your channel.
It's been a minute since I've done one, for sure. See, yeah, Gayton. Someone was saying, yeah, he wouldn't be able to hold his phone and work at the same time. Yeah, I don't know how you do that, Courtney. I know she's listening. She's crazy. He said, I did try recording my screen and figured it might not be an issue, which is why he went looking for something to stand his phone on. So yeah, we'll definitely get back to it. Someone saying we'll do that. Um,
Yeah, I want to see him draw. Someone saying, man, I love some of his stuff.
oh yeah, oh yeah, big time. And he's saying, when I was talking about the how and why I do my videos, he's saying it's why I enjoy them. It's like sitting with a friend and talking over the stuff. And he says he likes my um, brother's channel for the same reason. So, yeah, it's working. I posted up recently how um, I saw Chuck actually let me know first, and then I saw it elsewhere too, where there was some conversations between some people about any other channels that people talk about comics and stuff, and one person and then another person backed them up, like recommended my channel. Like there was actually some other people on their own recommending my stuff, and I'm like, holy shit, that's you know
It's a great feeling.
it is. It's pretty wild. Yeah, Chuck sent me like a screenshot. He's like, "Look, dude, they're talking about your stuff over here." I'm like, "What the hell?" Well, again, I guess something's going right. Let's see. So, how long does it take you to finish a page? Do you think? Everyone asks me that all the time. How long does it take you to finish a thing? And I'm like, well, there's so many variables, but
Yeah. Well, it takes me way longer than probably anybody else. I do a lot of undos. I do a lot of, I don't know. Yeah. It probably takes me. Okay, so just inking or like from start to pencils and everything. So pencils probably take me about a day to do because I keep them pretty. I try to keep them a little bit rough, right?
right,
I don't know. These are a little bit way more tighter than what I'm used to doing. But the inks usually take me about 2 days at best, 3 days at worst, something like that.
right, that makes sense. Shane Valentine says hi. What's going on? What's up? Wiley J. Draw says John Romita Jr. and John Buscema drew some killer Punisher comics. Killer Punisher comics. Yeah. I think John Romita Jr. has said, I think two of his favorite characters to draw, I think, are Batman and Punisher. And I feel like he's suited very much to Punisher, works really well for him, I think.
So here's another little dirty secret of mine. Besides not collecting a lot of comic or reading a lot of comic books now, I read a lot of independent comic books now, and not like Image independent. I'm talking about like us, you know. But people can name off artists, and yeah, I might know some of them. Like I obviously have heard of that name, but and I probably could recognize John Romita's. Was it uh was it Junior or the dad? I don't know which one you were talking about. But yeah, I'm horrible at that. I'm horrible at that stuff.
Yeah, John Romita Jr. would be
Junior.
the one that I mean, it's yeah, it's what he said, and that's the one that I think of. I mean, seniors, I think he's been passed on for a while, and I can't imagine John Romita Senior drawing
Right.
a comic, but maybe he did. Someone saying says, I appreciate that, Dan. I've said it before. I love how clean your work is. Watching you here, I'm impressed at how quickly you're going. I obsess too much with my lines.
Uh, Thanks, man. But I will say that I am trying to go faster than normal, so I'm not boring. But I appreciate that.
I find myself just kind of just. That's why I end up. I don't know. I like inking a lot, depending on the page I'm working on, because I don't have to think about it as much when I'm penciling. I have to like sit here and kind of pay attention to the form and figuring things out, um, especially if it's a comic page. So I tend to like inking on the lives because I can kind of mindlessly work at it while talking at the same time.
Yeah.
I have to get kind of a vibe.
Yeah, I gotta this like this being my first stream. I'm a little bit nervous and all that. So
I get, oh, you're doing fine. You're, I know. It's like people are watching, people are observing, or they're judging me.
so the reason I want to do this more is because I couldn't imagine doing something like this at a show where I get a table at a convention or something and drawing in front of people. So that's why I wanted to do more of this so I can maybe build up that strength.
Yeah, drawing at conventions, that's a trick. It's not my favorite thing to do, but it's where I make a lot of money when I have a table there. So I have to force myself. Every time someone comes up and they're like, "Hey, do you take commissions?" A little part of me dies inside. I'm like, ugh. And then I'm like, "Yes. What do you want?" And then it's so many times it's like some anime character I've never heard of. I'm like, ugh, yes, I'll draw that. And then give a price that, and then asking for a dollar amount is always the hard part for me. Like, how do I judge how much I charge someone? You
Right.
know, like what is my shit worth? I want to, I want to make it worthwhile, but I also don't want to have them be like, your shit ain't worth that much money, buddy.
So when I told you I was doing that comic back in the day, I went to a show and this guy asked me to draw Picard for him, Captain Picard from Star Trek. And I didn't want to say no. And back then, this was in the mid '90s, so there was no iPhones for me to quickly look up reference and all that.
Yeah.
So I drew this. It looked like a potato. I think I gave him a picture of a potato, and he just looked
Uh,
at it, and then you could just see the look on his face as he was looking at it. And I was like, "All right, man, I'm never doing that again."
he died inside a little, and
Yeah,
he's like, if only this was recorded, you could actually pinpoint the moment his heart rips in half.
yeah,
Yeah, I get that. I do. That's why I have to. It's also helps to have a friend there with you. I don't know if you saw. I posted up, I think yesterday, on YouTube and here on Instagram. That friend of mine, Bobby, who it was her birthday,
yeah,
but couple two of the pictures I posted were us at Comic Con. She comes with me every time, you know, and it's nice to have that other person there who can kind of like filter questions and be a voice to speak while I'm kind of got my head down drawing. And she's charming and fun, and all these things that I'm not. So it's just nice to have that person there.
yeah. That
It
sounds.
helps because yeah, it's I because I have to sit down and focus on this damn drawing. And when you're trying to also run your table and keep your eyes up and make eye contact, it's like it's customer service. You're trying to sell yourself, so you're looking, you're like, hey, what's up? How's it going? How you doing? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Courtney says, "So true. Sketching and line work is what takes me the longest." Yeah, I agree with you. That's what I was saying. When you get to the finishing part, you can kind of just, for me, I don't know, kind of. I don't want to say mindlessly, implying I'm not trying to think about it, but um, it's a little easier to just kind of be distracted while doing the inking part, as far as having conversations. But that's also why I like to have multiple pages going at one time, because I can move back and forth and find like, oh, there's easier lines to do over here and then on here and then on here, rather than like I only got this one page to work on. I can spread my focus out over a couple pages. I tend to do them in batches of 4 or 5. The
Sorry, I kind of missed that. You like pencil up 4 or 5 pages and then you go to inking them.
Basically, yeah, I do. I just have a group of them, so I can kind of, like I said, I can kind of flip back and forth, and
Yeah.
there tends to be spread across 4 or 5 pages, spread apart across all of those pages in different areas, big long sweeping lines. And if I'm in a big long sweeping line mood, I'll do a bunch on a page here, and then while it's kind of working, I'll flip it aside and get another one and do it on that, and then move that aside. And or if I'm sometimes I'll get out the really fine tipped pen to work on faces, and I'll just noodle away on the faces on all the pages. It just gives me an opportunity to
Yeah.
across a couple pages, spread my energies across a couple pages there.
Have
Um,
have, have you ever done this? I've done this a couple times, and I kind of like it, especially when I'm working on a character that I'm trying to keep their outfit or whatever on model. I'll go through and do all like this girl here is. I would ink that, then ink her there, and ink her there, and then move on to the next page and ink her on that page, and then come back and get some other character.
so you're basically like, if you got a couple pages, you go and ink or finish up the one character across all the pages.
Yeah,
That makes sense. I've kind of done a version of that. It's like sometimes the character is like a pain in the ass to draw, and I'm
yeah,
like, but then once I do one, I'm kind of in the flow of that character's design. I'm like, all right, I'll just go get all of this done. Like my character here, Fisto, his outfit, because I'm basically using the same outfit. I mean, I did change it from the cartoon, but he's got all these round, like studded round things on his outfit, on his harness, on his chest, across multiple places on his glove. And I got sick of drawing these goddamn circles. I'm like, but once again, I'll do them all right now. I'll just go through every page and draw those damn circles and
yeah.
then on. So I kind of do the same thing. Um, a
I've
fellow
only
by
done it a couple times, but
yeah,
I feel like it. I feel like I because something that makes me slow at least is because I might not always pencil it with all the detail, but then when I'm trying to keep it on model, I'll have to keep flipping to a reference, and then if I have to do that for multiple characters on a page, it certainly slows me down.
yeah, you got quite the cast of characters in your book there, with divergent styles of the way they look. So yeah, I can see that being like a, you're like, oh god, what is this character's design like? I've
Yeah,
done enough of these ones that I, for the most part, have it locked down into memory. But I also kind of have simplified some of their outfits. Like I've intentionally destroyed some characters' outfits and then had them wear something different that's a little bit simpler. And I'm like, just because that's for me,
yeah.
I just changed it.
Man, this whole miniseries, there's a character that had like bob wire. Parts of her hair are wrapped in barbed wire, and she's got barbed wire coming out of all of her gloves and knee pads and everything. And oh my god, that got hard to draw.
Yeah, you're like, why did I design this?
Yeah.
Chuck has returned. He had to go get his dinner, but he's returned for us, and he's back. He's watching. We got the we got the artist watching us now, so now the pressure's really on.
Man, Chuck, I have a question for you. I'm trying to think of a way to speed up, and one of those ways is to hire an inker. I don't know. Like, I guess my question is like these pencils. Is this something I could give to an inker? Is this what kind of questions should I ask them? I don't know. Just give me some pointers of working with an inker. Oh, well, that made them laugh. So I might get a.
You might be laughing at me saying like, "Oh, we got the artist watching now." You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Tends
I
to
got
be
to
a
get
little
used
bit
to
of a
that.
delay, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got it. But I'm for it's the same for me. I mean, like I'm like, oh God, he's seeing a lot of really good work in his day, and he's looking at my shit. Courtney says, I've been doing character sheets and always love changing my characters' outfits, and it's a pain sometimes, especially setting on just one. Yeah, Courtney, you've got the fashion design stuff going on all over the place. I don't know how, you keep them straight, but you certainly seem to make it work. But you're thinking of having somebody else doing some inks for you, huh?
Yeah, I just want to make comic books faster, and part of the reason I went with hiring a colorist was to, well, first of all, I'm not a very good colorist, but it would take me like 3 times as long to color it than to draw it. So I definitely started looking for a colorist for that reason, and then now I'm kind of thinking, okay, let me expand the team maybe and bring on an inker.
Yeah. There's Chuck with the response. He says, ask to see samples of what they've done before. Try to find stuff they've done over similar styles. And worst case scenario, ask for a tryout page.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind paying for a tryout page. That's what I did when I was looking for a colorist. I paid people to color like half a page, half their page rate for half a page of colors, and just kind of took it from there. So yeah, that's yeah, all that stuff makes sense, Chuck. Thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense. He also says, really depends on the inker as to whether they can work with your pencils. Your style looks pretty straightforward. Just stay clean with it. If you, I like inking and I like practicing over stuff. Not that I'm any good, but um, if you have like a pinup or something like that in pencil, you like your digital pencils, you should email that over to me. And I want to like, if you don't mind, I would like to just print it out and then try and do like a light box ink on it. And just because I'd like to try something like that. I think it'd be kind of fun just as like a just give it a shot kind of thing. If
Sure. Yeah.
you know, just I like to try and see what I can do. Like in my last book, I had a buddy of mine who's got a very very clean style, and he sent me a very clean, slick pencil that I did exactly that. I did a light box ink over it, and I can see like I definitely lost all the interesting stuff that he does in his own work trying to translate it. But it's good practice for me. That would be kind of a fun little um, experiment to try if you've got
Yeah,
something
man.
just sitting around. That would be fun for me to try. I could even do it on like a live. I could even link it on one of these live, ink it on one of these lives. I'm like, here, let me see. Watch me butcher this man's pencils. Is what it's called.
So the story after this. Oh yeah. So you might not like it because I think I'm going to do the image where you have to turn the book.
Yeah,
But it's gonna be all pinups basically. It's gonna be one page instead of panels. It's the final story out of the 4-issue miniseries. I want to go out with a bang and just do a bunch of large images. So yeah, I'll send you one of those.
that'd be fun. Yeah, I'd be down for that. Um, Tyrez Brunson says, I know no one has seen my crappy art, but when I do characters, I try to make simple outfits and costumes so they look cool but not overcomplicated. There's something for that. There's something to that. I think some comic creators have talked about like if you're going to create a comic and a character, like don't shoot yourself in the foot by giving them the most overly elaborate bullshit thing you have to draw over and over and over. That would be just making your life more difficult. Courtney says, I'd love to have you ink one of my sketches, Rob, if you'd be down for that. Well, Ms. Courtney, I've actually hit you up about that before. If you remember, I think I asked about that. I think you said like that would be something fun to do, but then I never did hear back from you. So yeah, let's do that. I would actually really love to do that. You could have me, you could see me screw up one of your drawings, Courtney. I'll ruin it for you. You betcha. And it wouldn't because I was intentionally trying to ruin it. I would give it my best shot, but I'm just like, it's just not going to look the same.
Now, some of your first of all, I think you're a great inker. But some of your latest pages that I've seen with that witch woman or whatever, the girl with the mask, and she looks
Yeah.
just yeah, those are looking great.
Let's see, grabbing my, like I said,
Yeah, that thing.
I gotta, like I was getting into some razor blade scratchy stuff and white paint on here to give it some
Good.
texture otherwise. And
See, I've been trying to experiment a little bit more with that kind of stuff too. That looks awesome. Like you can see here, like normally I don't do like this kind of background stuff, but I've been trying to play around with it more.
yeah.
Looks awesome, dude.
And then, yeah, I was kind of getting into some heavy cross hatching and lighting. And I'm either overworking it or I can't be objective about it. I try to be, but then sometimes it's like I just got to set it aside. Like, I don't know. We'll see how this looks tomorrow. Maybe I did something right. Maybe not. I don't know. And then Chuck will send me pages. Like I think I posted up that gauntlet. There was just a close up of the glove of the guy with all that awesome like detail and screen tone looking stuff. I'm like, oh my god, that's the best version of that fucking glove. That this I'm drawing it all the time, and he instantly made it look the best version of it ever. I'm like, oh god, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like I see the advantages of the digital on there all over the place. Um, Chuck says every artist who's ever drawn him hates the chains on Dale Keown's pit. Really bad idea for a character design. That's fair. Chains suck. Chains are a pain in the ass.
I don't know, man. I that's all good advice. Keep it simple. Keep the outfit simple. But I trap myself and or forget to think about it and just end up. But I'm kind of happy with it in the end. It's just kind of a pain while I'm having to draw it.
Yeah. Let's see. Um, Someone saying he's agreeing with the chains on Pitt. He says drawing the ones on that image for Rob's son was bad enough. Yeah, that monster design, my son of a bitch son, with like the most elaborately designed details ever. I'm like, holy crap, son! How did you come up with this?
Yeah.
Uh, Speaking of my sons, my youngest boy drew this for me just the other day, and I'm like, holy lord, his attention to detail, even though it's maybe a little hard to decipher, it's he's got an eye for detail. Like he wants to add everything in here that he can. There's like this monster with like he's a giant Godzilla sized monster, but he's got six shooters like a cowboy and Gatling guns and tentacle arms and all kinds of insanity. And then my older boy, just yesterday, he drew this for me. I can't get it all on camera here. He says it's a car, but it's a spider. It's a spider creature. So like instead of wheels, he's got like spider legs, and he's got like this evil mouth up front that eats people. I love the idea of a spider car. That's really cool, my son. And he drew a car here in the background that the spider car ran over, and he drew the blood and guts trailing out from under the where he got ran over, and then all the way to the front of the creature where there's a hand hanging out the front that the spider car ate. I'm like, oh, my son,
I love it.
don't tell your mom that daddy's encouraging this because I'm totally encouraging it.
Yeah, my dad used to draw. He wasn't trying to be professional with it or have an art career or anything, but he just loved to draw. I remember sitting at the coffee table with him as a little kid, drawing all the time, and those drawings. I'm glad you're saving those, but he saved them, and like when I was in my mid 20s, he gave me a bunch of them that he saved, and that was just super awesome to see.
So yeah, I am saving all of these things, and I hope to at the same some point in the future be like, "Hey boys, do you remember these? I kept them all." And
Yeah,
that at some point, I think they'll be old enough to understand the significance of them and like to have them back. You know,
yeah,
especially
man.
continue on to be kids that like to draw, which it could go either way at this point. I'm not really for sure, but see. Courtney says, "I feel that drawing I just finished. I hated for like I hated for 2 days until I realized it wasn't awful." We're our own worst critiques, I think. Tyrez Bunsen says, "You notice Todd doesn't do chains on Spawn that much anymore." And Chuck says, "With Spawn, it's a little easier because it's a supernatural character. You can make things appear or disappear, and no one will notice." Oh, and then Chuck's like, "I don't need help with chains anymore, though. Clip Studio Paint has a brush that makes them for me." There you go. There's the shortcut of worth worth everyone's time. That's funny.
Oh man, I don't know. They got to be twist. They got a twist though. Does it do that?
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, can they like? It'd be really interesting if they like can like the individual links. You can like manipulate them to kind of twist around, and that's a good question. Sure, he'll chime in here.
All right, I'm gonna take 30 seconds. I need to refill my coffee.
Yeah, you're good. No problem. But Courtney, yeah, if you have a sketch of anything, almost, I mean, you see what I like to do, so you can kind of pick. But Courtney, if you've got some kind of drawing that you could send over to me, email to me that I could print out, I would love to try and do some inks over your work. Hell, I bet we could even get Jessica to do something like that too. I bet she would have fun with that. She'd probably complain that she's not any good, but I bet she would actually like to do that. Chuck says about the chains. He says a little standardized, but at least it eliminates the easy shots with the chains. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it probably gives you a good starting point. You can twist some on your own once you get the temp, or once the brush puts it down, you can maybe twist some after that.
Someone saying says I've actually made a brush preset in Krita. Is that how you say it? Krita Krita that makes them, but I did that image in Procreate. I've yet to have to actually draw chains extensively. Um, but the few times it's like, oh my god, what idiot wanted chains in this image? Oh yeah, it's Spawn. But okay, Courtney, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I think you've got my email. I think I emailed you something once before. So yeah, if you want to send something over, that'd be amazing. That would be kind of a fun live stream kind of thing to do. If I can, I can on occasion I can get away from the pages I'm drawing and to do something different and getting the opportunity to ink you, Dan, or just do one for Courtney for fun. I would enjoy that a lot.
Hey, what, Rob? You gonna do a pinup in my next book?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would just kind of, well, we can just chit chat about that separately. I'd happy to. That would be awesome.
Yeah, usually I try to get all the sequential art done on my end before I start reaching out to people. So when I get to that point, I'll let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got some interesting character designs. It'd be a little bit of a challenge for me to try to like, how do I interpret this? because my first thought is to not try to replicate the kind of cartoony thing that you do, but take that cartoony design and do it like a more hardcore standard comic book version, just to see a different version of it, just to like see it in a different light. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like I wouldn't want you to like try to draw like I do. I would want it to be, you know, this is a dog character, but I mean, you could, like Joe Mad would draw this way different than I draw it, right? And that's what I want the artist, whoever does a pinup, I want to see their style, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sounds like fun. Chuck says the brushes and grass, wood grain on trees, all brushes that make them for me. Yeah, I was noticing on one of the pages you sent, Chuck, very recently. In fact, I shared it in the Discord group, and one of the guys himself too was like, we were looking at the figures up front. It was that scene where Fisto and Shira are lying around in the forest post reading scriptures, because that's totally what they were doing. But they were leaning up against a tree, and we were looking at the textures on the tree in the background. I was like, that looks really neat. I really like the way the texture on the tree looks. It's looked really neat. It almost looked like it looked to me almost like a charcoal kind of look, in a way, like a grainy kind of texture. It was really cool. OG Anime Man says, I just subbed. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I hit that 2,500 mark like, I don't know, a day or two ago, and then I'm actually up to like plus 20 of that. It's weird. It keeps going. I wonder if it's because there's other just a bunch of people out there looking for other stuff, since a certain other channel decided to tank themselves.
I'm sure it's partly like it's got to be like a snowball effect, right? The more people, you probably get recommended more now, and all that stuff. You know, the more followers you have or subscribers, yeah, and
Yeah.
and the other thing, like you said.
Yeah, that. Yeah, that's such a crazy situation. It's Chuck says, I have a natural media brush that does a great simulation of real paint, charcoal, and all that stuff. That makes sense. Yeah, I can see that in some of it. It's really neat. I did that video today, or I mean, it went up today, of Richard Corbin, which Chuck was really disappointed in me that I wasn't aware of him that much. I really just, I mean, I didn't know the guy for the longest time. Some things I just don't know. But the color process, which one of the viewers of the video linked to another video explaining his process, and then a couple guys in the channel in the comments started explaining the process of Richard Corbin's coloring techniques. And man, they're using a lot of terminology that I kind of understand, but I don't understand how that works that way. It's wild, the coloring, the way that guy did his stuff. It makes me want to seek out a lot more.
Yeah, I haven't watched that video yet, but I've seen other people talk about that book. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard the name a lot. I just never ran into anything that I knew that he was drawing. And again, I think part of it's because I grew up in a very small town that didn't have like a big comic community. There was just like a local drugstore that just carried the standard kind of shit that you get from Marvel and DC. So that's just mainly what I kind of got stuck on. And then I didn't. I'm always curious as how do people find out about all these other independent things. Like, where do people get their information from? Who tells them about all this wildly different stuff? Because me in a little town in southern Utah, I didn't know about no damn thing except X-Men and Spider-Man and Batman. Like, how do people find out about this stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I was a Marvel kid, man. I just stuck with a couple Marvel books, and I didn't really venture too far away from that.
Yeah, and I enjoyed everything that I had, but it just once you kinda get older, you start looking at other things, you start going, "Oh, okay. Alright. There's a whole other selection of stuff I just had no idea existed." I saw that comment there, Chuck. It's crazy what's going on with that channel, that other channel that torpedoed themselves. I'm really curious to watch how that plays out. I think it's unfortunate. It sucks, but you know, it just kind of is what it is. And I don't know if it helps benefit me, then it's just their own damn fault.
Kind of
There's
slowed
there's
down.
D man. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Just D man in the chat. He's arrived. Now the party can start as usual.
What's up,
But
D
sorry,
man?
what were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't watch that channel as much as I used to. In fact, I don't watch a lot of comic book channels as much as I used to. I feel like I'm getting a little burnt out on it, you know.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah.
I get that. Um, I've seen a lot of people. I watch some other channels and some of that stuff, um, where I'm like, I try to like see what other people are doing, and even I'm kind of like, I could see like these guys are doing a lot better production values than I'm doing, but I don't find it interesting. So I'm like, I wonder if maybe people like, well, what am I doing that's any more unique or different? But I don't know. We all kind of got our own little audience, and I'll take anyone who wants to watch.
I think your personality has a lot to do with it. You got a very good personality.
It's hard for me to kind of hear that because I'm like I've always felt like I'm the most boring son of a bitch in the ever because a lot of my personality I kind of go back to as dumb as it sounds like I think back in high school where we're so much of our traumatic experiences have happened and it's hard to kind of step away from that, but I was such a shy quiet like just misunderstood nerd and I still feel that way,
Yeah.
and I kind of forced myself out of that. It's like I'm like, you know what? It's time to be a damn grown up and exist in the real world and not let your own little silly personal hangups run your life. And I've kind of been able to just basically just walk myself out of it. But then I run into a lot of people that I know or hear or see them and I'm like, this is still that shy kid that was in high school and they never got out of it. They're still that shy person and everyone's personality is different. Like I get that, but I still feel like that shy like dork who's afraid to get up in front and talk in front of anybody because everyone's going to laugh at me. Like that is still inside me all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just was never good at that. But I think forcing yourself to do something like this kind of helps you just, you kind of walk yourself out of it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying earlier, I'm trying to do more things like this so that I can break that shell that I have myself.
Someone saying he says, I live in the mountains in the middle of nothing. The bookstore I went to was 40 minutes away. I was lucky enough to have him hand me his distributor books. Well, that's awesome. Have the opportunity to have somebody give you a wider variety of stuff than just the normal stuff. That's He says I could go through them, pick out the interesting stuff there. That's how I was able to get my first manga stuff long before it was commonplace. That's awesome. Um, yeah, that makes sense. Have somebody like give you opportunity to look for something else, and then you're like, "Oh, here's something interesting. Here's manga. That looks amazing. How would you ever know about that otherwise?" Because I didn't know about comics with that type of stuff in that. I didn't know because how do I know?
Yeah.
My roommate, she got home and she just joined us. She says, "Let's not inflate Rob's ego. He's already bad enough to deal with." I see how it is. someone saying he's saying that he's like he lived in a place like that, not anymore. He's not up in the mountains. Like I kind of wish I lived up in the mountains, in a small town,
Yeah, man, that's where I want to retire.
right? Yeah. So like I grew up in that small town, and I kind of wanted out of it, and now I'm like, I want to live in that small town again. But that small town I grew up in is not so small anymore. It's kind of a much bigger place. It just grew crazy big. But as a kid, I was kind of fine with it, but I didn't kind of appreciate it. As I get older, I'm like, man, I had a great place to grow up in. My parents would let us go out the front door and run around town all night during the summer and not be concerned about, because one, we were good kids, my brothers and I, we were good kids. We weren't going to do anything to get ourselves in trouble, but they weren't worried about us like disappearing or breaking into cars or drinking or even getting like killed or anything like that. Like it was just such a nice little small town. And as a grown ass adult, I'm like, that's ideal. That's what I want now.
Yeah,
But
I just want enough land where I don't have to see a neighbor.
right? Oh my god, 100%. Yeah, I would actually probably move if it wasn't like for my kids, and I'm gonna stay right next to them as long as I can while they're still little boys, and then we'll see what the future holds. But I ain't going anywhere except being right next to them.
Yeah, I work from home, so I could move, but I don't. But my boy lives with me, and I don't want to move while he's in school. I was always like terrified of having to start a new school from moving. We moved a lot when I was a kid, but
Yeah,
once he gets done with that, man, I think I might go find a mountain to live in.
yeah, sounds great, doesn't it? Isn't it so crazy how appealing that sounds? Like, oh, doesn't that sound amazing? Like, I don't want to have to go. I don't want, like you said, I want to go out my front door and not have to see anybody.
Yeah,
That's the dream. Mr. D Man, he says he lives in a big city. Too many woke weirdos and corrupt politicians here. I wish I lived in a small town. I mean, that's kind of my what I would like to is just to get away from the big cities and just be out there on my own. So, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you? I'm 47, so I figure we're close, right?
yeah, I'm 49.
Okay, all right, right there, basically the same. Growing up, kind of seeing the same stuff in the same era.
Yeah, that's why I was telling you to check out. Not what was it? Thundar the Barbarian, man. I think you dig it.
Yeah, I'm aware of it, but I never. It's one of those things that never. Again, it just never kind of crossed my path, or I just didn't kind of entertain me enough to. I don't know. I'm trying to remember if it was on TV when I was younger, because I'm aware of it. But
Yeah. My dad loved it, so he introduced me to it. So I remember watching it with him.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if I watch it nowadays, I won't be as impressed, but I have fond memories of it.
Oh, that's it's a slippery slope. The stuff that you used to love as a kid, and but you haven't watched in a long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can kind of ruin it for yourself by going back and be like, "Oh, I can't wait to watch this again." And you're like, "Oh, I wish I never did," because now I see how terrible. But it's I watch a lot of stuff. I can rewatch a lot of stuff that I used to like as a kid, and I'm like, I can see how bad it is, but because my childhood nostalgia is connected to it, I still enjoy the hell out of it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's some of that old stuff is like, wow, this is my memory of it was way better than the reality of it. How old's your kid?
Well, he just turned 18 last year of high school, and so my freedom's almost available to me. But yeah,
Have
he's a
you?
good kid.
Has he been? So it's just you and him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has it been that way for long? Again, I don't mean to pry, but I'm kind of relating it to myself. My boy, like my youngest son, just turned 9 what is today? The 28th. So 2 days ago, and my other boy, he's coming up on 12 this summer, and
Hmm.
shocking how quickly this time is going. And I'm like, it felt like it was going to last forever with these kids being young, but they're just getting so old so fast. And at some point, I'm like, it's not going to be too long before I'm going to be looking. I've got an 18-year-old kid who's graduating high school and off to go do his life. But to me, he's still my baby boy.
Dude, yeah. I baby him. I do admit that. I mean, he takes care of himself, but I do kind of I am overprotective. I got to get over that. But since he was 14, it's been me and him.
I mean, I there's a little part of me that kind of, I mean, I've never said this, I never encourage it, but there's this little part of me that's kind of like, when he gets just a little bit older, it'd be kind of nice if he'd be like, tell his mom, like, I actually want to go live with daddy. And so I get the opportunity to just um, have another stretch of long, uninterrupted time with my own kids rather than splitting time with their mom. Now, their mom is fantastic. We get along great. We weren't able to make the relationship work, but I can take the kids anytime. She's more than happy to let me come snag them anytime I want, as long as I'm not interfering with like a prearranged family thing or school. But I miss that day to day stuff that I'm like, I just, so I'll never say it to him like, hey, tell your mom you want to come live with me. But I kind of hope there's a little part of me that's like, maybe he'll come to me one of these days and like, I actually want to go stay with daddy. And be like, well,
Yeah.
sorry, mom, but that's just how it's going to have to go.
Well, I will say this though. He was 14 and now he's 18. So I mean, he's at that age where he is off with his friends or locked in his room, and it's kind of doing his own thing. So yeah, it's that yeah, it might change for you as they get older.
Yeah, and I understand that. I do get it, but I'm just trying to. I'm trying to. I worry I'm not making enough connections with them because we're not together, and I just want to take every opportunity that I can.
Yeah.
Um, like for example, my oldest boy, he came to me like a week and a half ago, and for the first time in his life, he asked me if I would take him to see a specific movie,
That's cool. What
and
what was it?
I was like, because he wants to go see the new Godzilla King Kong movie, and
Nice.
I've taken my boys this last summer to um, movies for the first time because they finally are old enough and to like be able to handle it. And so I took him to like Mario Brothers and Ninja Turtles and the last live action Transformers movie. But that was me saying we're gonna go. But my son was like, Dad, I really want to see this movie. Can we go? I'm like, you bet, absolutely. Let's go. I'm let's He's like, oh, I'm so glad. Thanks, Dad. I'm like, you betcha, son.
That's awesome.
So we're going. Chuck and D Man are making future business connections over here. Because D Man's saying, I was thinking once I get my production company going, I'll relocate to Hollywood, Florida. Chuck's like, you need a storyboard guy? There you go. Remember all us little people when all you guys get rich and famous. We'll all start up our own comic company. Which
Okay, so if you hit the lottery and would you and had money to just burn, would you like try to start a comic book company, or what would that look like?
I uh,
I would try to get people. I would try to. I would like to continue this story. Maybe hire other people to do it, and then maybe help other people bring their books to life. Something like that, maybe.
that's kind of the first thing, as I was going to say. Well, I'm just going to keep doing my own thing, but I'll have the means to get it out there and get it seen, and then hopefully people be interested in picking it up. But then my other thought was immediately like, if I had money like that, I would absolutely want to have the means to like help people get their stuff seen.
Yeah.
Like, and like if I hit the lottery tomorrow, it was a huge one, and I had a big old payout of $300 million. Well, guess what? You just got your book published too, Dan. You know what? We would be like, let's get it out there, let's get it seen, let's do some stuff. Um, and but I mean, it's a financially risky thing. Like, it's kind of hard to. Again, I don't know anything. Just from what you hear people talk about, like if you hear the story of like the Ninja Turtle creator guys and everything that they tried to do, and but you could lose money real quick. Oh, in fact, Chuck, she's like, best way I can think of to lose all of your money is start a comic book company. I mean, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like,
It wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't create a company like
right,
I'm gonna be Marvel. I would
right,
just do more in comic books. Yeah,
yeah. Make I because then I could live on my own and not have to go do a job, and I could sit here and make my own stuff
there
and
you go.
produce it, and then have the means to focus on it and hire a good colorist and things like that. Yeah, but not be like, I'm going to start a whole slew of titles and be Lightning Comics. Like, oh god, I did the video on that blood.
Oh yeah.
Just so like taking the comics industry by storm. Oh my god, I it's so few times I've read a comic book that pissed me off, and that one really had me fired up. That was terrible.
What was that whole thing about? Get your comic book dealer to sign a permission slip saying that you bought 3 issues. Some bullshit.
Exactly what it was, a permission slip.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like go and buy 3 copies of issue 2 and then have the comic dealer sign it in their handwriting with like a validation of the receipt, and then mail that to us along with your copy of issue number 1 with postage and a stamp to return it, and we will have the artist sign the book and send it back to you. And I couldn't think of a bigger like, oh fuck you guys. I would love to know if anybody, and I mean anybody, did that. I have to say no because I don't mean to be disrespectful to the poor bastard who was drawing the book, but he was not that good. I can't imagine there were too many people that were lining up to get their book signed by him.
I mean, like, as a comic shop owner, if somebody asked me to do that, I don't know. I think they were weird.
Like, you want me to what? And it was
Yeah.
this new company. They're going to be the biggest thing in comics. Look, it tells you right here. And if I got to have you validate that I bought 3 copies of this. Like, all right, sure. Put your kids through college with this.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was kind of a weird request, but I guess they were just at least trying something maybe to give them a little benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, that's possible. Someone says, "Tell me you're a con artist without telling me you're a con artist."
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. And I went flipping through that box of comics that I got, and I do have a couple more issues of it, but it's like issues 6 and 7, and it's drawn by an entirely different guy who seems a little bit more competent than the original guy, but it's still so boring. It's like mid shots everywhere, no lighting, no shading, no. I mean, everyone can draw a different way. I mean, it's hard to verbalize it without sounding like a pretentious douche, but just for as much as they were acting like they were gonna like we're gonna revolutionize the comic industry and show you things you've never seen before, they could not hire on an artist that could draw for anything. Yeah, and Chuck says right here, he's like, the Lightning Comics artist probably gave them their money's worth, quote unquote. I bet he was paid in exposure. I wouldn't be surprised if that was it, though. They're like, hey, just draw the book. Trust me, it'll be big. Once we make all the money off the books, maybe we'll get you money then, but draw for us for free. And I'm not gonna lie, if it was be me at the time and that era and the possibilities, they probably could have conned me into doing it if I existed then and could draw anything. They probably would have talked me into it if it's the only way I could get something out there. And then I'd regret it later.
Yeah, my first comic I did for free for a guy that went and sold it and everything. Sold the book.
Yeah.
But I will never show that artwork. Holy cow.
Well, now we have to see it.
I've searched for it on the internet. I don't think you can find it. I do have a copy. Might be the only copy left.
I did, gosh, back in 93, 94. There was a local guy in Salt Lake that was starting up a company called Newcomers Illustrated. And he saw my stuff and he was publishing a bunch of artists in just this small, like, anthology book. And he gave me an opportunity and I signed a quote unquote contract for a percentage of sales. And um, my older brother was able to go to a comic shop and reserve a copy of it. And he got one. And I never ever was able to get a copy of that damn thing. So kind of like that, where you're saying like it may not be it's impossible to find one. So I, wasn't long after that I was able to convince my brother. I'm like, I need it. It might be the only one in existence. I Will you let me have it, please? And he's like, of course. Here you go. He didn't give a shit. But yeah, it was a similar situation of, hey, draw for us. And if it sells, I'll give you a percentage of sales. But this guy didn't make anything on these books. And he was also kind of a shyster. He actually grew to have a reputation of being a bad reputation. Like people like don't work for this guy as recently as just a couple years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this is back in 93, 94, and then, like, just a couple years ago, people are like, "Don't work for so and so. He will rip you off. He will steal your money." I'm like, "Oh, that guy."
This guy was all right. I don't have a problem with him. And when I didn't I only did the one book, and he definitely rebooted it, and the artist that was after me tore it up, man. He did a great job. But I mean, I was 17 years old. I was in high school, get out of high school, go work a part-time job, and then sit at my mom's dining room table drawing this comic book, and I was proud of it, but looking at it today, nah.
Yeah. I like looking back at my old stuff because I could see, like, the energy and the what I was trying to do and all the guys I was trying to rip off and how much I was just failing everywhere, but I still just kinda love it. I'm like, "Oh, this is terrible." And my
Yeah.
dumb shows it on my channel, like, "Here's my old shit. Look at how bad I used to be." Uh, Chuck continues saying about Lightning Comics. Lightning Comics, you get what you pay for, which that should have been their thing. And then he says everyone has that job they don't want anyone to ever see again. Yeah, I get that.
Are you about to pull it out?
Well, I'm looking for something else over here real quick. I just had it. Chuck, if you're still watching, like, I want to go over this issue because it's the only one I've got right in front of me that I know that you worked on. So I
Oh,
thought it
cool.
was fun to get some commentary from you on this about how you feel about this. From when was this? When was this published? From October of '95. Right there, Brett Booth on pencils, and there's that Gibson signature that I've seen.
Look at that.
Yeah, we should. It'd be fun to get your insight on this. I keep looking at the inking on this hair, and I think it looks pretty damn interesting. This wild, wavy hair that this girl's got.
That's crazy.
I mean, I look at the inking, and I'm like, it looks just as good as anything anyone else was doing at the time. Um,
Who is that penciler?
Brett Booth.
Oh, okay.
He says, I only inked a few jobs over Booth, but that issue is the most solid. I was going to say, it looks pretty good. It has you listed as um, that you and this other guy, this Rick Bryant, split pages. He did this other guy, Rick Bryant, did pages 4, 6, 15, 16, 19, and 20. Chuck, you say you made the changeover in the way you inked on that issue. What is the changeover? We should be doing this as a live, Chuck, one of these days. Yeah, Brett Booth was really solid. Certainly one of the better guys that got pretty good pretty fast from Wildstorm.
See, I kind of dropped out of comic books. What year was this? I probably dropped out in like 93, 92.
October of 95.
Yeah. I was with Image when Image started. I was probably hanging out with them for about 2 years, or not buying their comics for about 2 years, and then I kind of dropped out. So I never got to see any of this.
You know what, Chuck? We should make it a. We should do this. We should work out a day. I don't. I can only do one person at a time on this thing. I found out the hard way. I was going to have Jessica and Courtney on at the same time, and we discovered that it doesn't work that way on YouTube. But that would be a fun thing.
But you need StreamYard or something for something like that.
I've heard people talk about that, and that's something that it's another one of those things that I need to like look into. I have to go back and forth and see who inked what, and I'm like 12, 13, 14. So you didn't get to draw the or get to ink the weird page with the girl surrounded by ghostly skeletons and she's turning into rock or something, and she's it's a heck of a page right there. Anyway, yeah, Chuck, we should do that. That would be kind of fun. We could do a live, and I know I've got, because you said Chuck said that he's inked some of the work on the later issues of the Heroes Reborn,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I know I've got them all. I have to go dig them up. So that would be kind of fun to, because Chuck's got all kinds of great stories and insights, and I would love to hear some of that. We should do that.
Yeah, that'd be cool to watch or listen to.
Yeah, I'd watch if I was separate. I'd be like, oh yeah, I want to hear about this. I'm always interested in hearing stuff from people who did the work back in the day, or anytime. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not just back in the day, but there's a little part of me that's a little bit more interested to hear about the back in the day stuff, because Image Comics in the '90s. That's a whole unique thing.
How's your page coming?
Oh, I'm skipped around to a couple different ones here. I've been kind of avoiding this panel because it's been a little challenging in places, but I'm like, I gotta work out this panel. I gotta work it out. I gotta just start trying to make it work. So that's one thing I've learned for myself, at least, is I'll be working on something and it might look kind of terrible to my eyes, but if I just see it through to the end, by the time I get everything on there and get it kind of to its completion, it actually looks better than I thought it was going to in the creation of it. And if I would have given up, I would never get done. If
Yeah.
that makes sense. I found myself just like, just see it through. Just keep going. Finish it, and it might be better than what you think it's going to look like right now. Because in the process, you might be like, "This is just god awful. What am I doing?" But I
Yeah.
learned just keep going, just keep working it, and then you tend to learn to find solutions to problems.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely been there.
I think most artists would be like, yeah, but again, I know a lot of people. Like, I mean, I'm only saying this because Jessica's not with us right now, but I've known her long enough. Like, she's had a lot of instances where she's working on a thing and she hates it, and so she kind of gives up on it. I'm like, I know, I keep going, but that was her that I knew back in the day, some years ago. She's learned to follow through a lot better. But she would she would tell me about something she was working on and she didn't like it, so she literally like threw the canvas across the room in the garage or something she was working on and tossed it aside. Was kind of pissed off at it. I'm like, but it was actually looking fine.
Yeah.
I've never rage thrown artwork across a room though, so maybe I'm not a real artist, but because I'm mostly like, I can't afford to waste this piece of paper.
Yeah, I haven't done that, and it would be a big problem for me with it being on the iPad.
Yeah, I'm like, no, this thing costs way too much money, so I'll rage push delete. Is that a thing?
Sure, yeah.
Like, delete button, good, go away. I hate this thing. Yeah, Chuck says Heroes Reborn, Captain America issues 10 and 12 both have a few pages I inked to them. One issue is by Joe Bennett, and the other is Ed. Chuck, how do you say Ed? Is it Ed Bain, Benes? Is it Banes or Baines? Or I've always wondered. I'm always kind of fumbling around that. I wonder if you ever knew him, or how do you pronounce that guy's last name? And man, is he a good artist these days. Like, really good. I wish he was drawing something that I knew like I would want to pick up. D Man, yeah, D Man, you've been posting up some stuff on your YouTube channel, which I think is awesome. Like, I've been like, yeah, post up stuff. Let's see what you've got, man. You're a creative guy. You're always working on stuff.
I don't know if I've seen any of his work. I think we follow each other. I have to go refresh myself.
Uh, Chuck's like, I don't know how you say it. That guy's from Brazil and worked for Wildstorm on a freelance basis. That makes sense. I just wondered, is like worth it to like maybe because once I'm out there on my channel trying to pronounce the name, and I'm like, I'm sure I'm screwing this up, and but yeah, that guy is just insanely talented. I mean, again, it's another one of those where I wasn't particularly excited about it back when he was starting, but man, has he just grown. Chuck, you say you found your Burn Austin pages, the ones that you bought, right? I think you were saying that you had bought those. You got some originals. Want to see those, even if they're quote unquote the boring pages where they're just heads talking. I'm like, still like, these are pages that were in the hands of these guys, and it'd be fun. It'd be awesome to own those.
Yeah.
Trying to find. Chuck, you want to see something that might blow your mind? Um, I've got a video coming up in a day or two of this. It's this Wolverine saga, these collected books, where it's just basically text explaining Wolverine's life. But the front and back covers are drawn by Liefeld, fine, but they're inked by Terry Austin. And I can't, I was even saying in the video, I can't imagine Terry Austin having inked over John Byrne on X-Men and done some of the most beautiful, lavish, like lush pencils, and they gets this Liefeld kid, and he's like, "All right, I guess I'll ink this stuff." And I actually kind of think this is kind of interesting for old school Liefeld stuff. I kind of don't mind it. I like this back cover actually kind of a lot. But I just think of this Terry Austin guy who's so good, and then getting this Liefeld kid's work and going, all right, well, let's let's see what we can do here. These were interesting books. Are they just like they're like we're just going to tell the story of Wolverine with mostly text and some pictures of the pages in the comics just to tell you everything about the guy up to that point. And as a kid, I thought they were pretty damn awesome. I don't
Yeah.
know that work today. I'm like, who would buy a book with just mostly just like we're just telling you? You could just go online.
Yeah, yeah, that's more of a web page nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. These are September of '89. So that's when it was done. Chuck saying Terry Austin had lost quite a lot of his flair by that point. That's interesting because I mean I'm looking at the inking on it, and I'm not particularly blown away by it, but it makes you wonder what the pencils look like in the first place. So I don't know. Maybe it was just a quick job. Maybe it's like, all right, let's just bang this out and move on to the next thing. But anyway, yeah, it's 4 issues of this thing, and that's coming up soon-ish. Chuck's saying he's got Superman pages from Byrne and Austin, a page from Superman 1 and a couple from issue 3. That's awesome. Chuck says pencils looked just like what you see. So pretty rough. I mean, I, I don't know. I kind of like this jumping Wolverine that he did. Kind of thought that
Yeah.
looked interesting. That's pretty. Some giant swords coming out of his hands for claws, but it works. It's dynamic.
Yeah, I like it. The clouds kind of frame them a little bit too.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they're kind of surrounding him. Yeah, makes me wonder. I always wonder. Like, this is a really obscure, like book and pages. I wonder if these are like out there in the universe sold to somebody. Somebody has this in their collection, or if Liefeld just got this sitting with him, or you know what I mean. I wonder that a lot about. We always wonder about the big books or the big pages or the big widely known ones. But what about little obscure shit like this? Where is this drawing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Chuck saying he'd become a full on tracer at that point in his opinion, and then he says all those Wolverine shots by Liefeld are swiped from previous Wolverine appearances. I definitely know that about this one. I actually mentioned it in my video. It's right in here, and I knew that going into it. It was I think it was John Byrne drawing it. Is it in this one? It has to be in this one. Maybe it was in another book, but yeah, I know that that one swiped from something. I know the scene that these were from, and that one I'm trying to remember what this was. It looks like a reproduction of something else that I've seen before. I'm just trying to think of what it would have been. But yeah, I definitely know this one where Wolverine is locked in chains. I think the X Men were trapped by Mesmero. It was, and he eventually just snaps these chains, which is funny because there's no tension on this chain right here at all. Gently like listing to the side, and he's supposed to be like through constant unending pressure nonstop he eventually snaps the chains and frees himself, which is a pretty badass moment.
Should have used that chain brush.
Right, like what's the problem, man? You gotta get the bust out the chain brush. Mr. Liefeld, can you imagine artists back in the day even conceiving of what computers would be available or able to do 3
Crazy.
later?
Hell, I'm impressed every couple years.
Yeah, yeah. It's not going to be too long before people are going to just put out a comic, and it's like I just typed it into AI and it just made it for me. There you go. I think we're going to be seeing that real soon.
Dude, I pulled down. Hold on, let me grab it. Oh, it might be too dark to see. I pulled this. Let me turn the light on.
You're good. Yeah.
I got these old monster books up on my shelf. I pulled this one out last night and was checking it out. And let me find this story because it is exactly Chat GPT. Here we go. I fought the Colossus. Uh, which way does it go? So that first little block there says it was in 2020 when, after almost 15 years of work, I finished building the computer. Immediately, I summoned the World Council, and they spent hours testing it with every conceivable question. And then they're like asking it, "Or what's going on Earth? What's going to happen?" I don't know. It just reminded me of like exactly what's going on nowadays with this AI.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I was looking online and I ran across on the Explorer page on Instagram this really awesome image of I can't even remember what it was because I ended up so pissed off at it. But and I looked it up, so I go to that page and I look it up and like 17,000 likes. This guy's got 50,000 followers, and so I'm looking at it and he's like created in, I think it's called Midcraft. Is that the thing it's called?
Mid Journey?
Mid Journey. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. And I'm like, what's Mid Journey? So I'm like, oh, and then I look at the description, like, yeah, basically just like I typed this into this computer and it just pooped this out, and it looked good, but I'm like, fuck that, fuck him, and fuck you. Pardon my language, everybody. You did not make anything. You
Yeah.
you didn't make anything, but they're putting it out there and like tons of followers. Not that I care about followers as like it doesn't mean anything except, but why are all these people following this? And because most people don't know, just a common person probably doesn't understand, but
Yep.
like this person didn't make this. They didn't make anything. Like you could have made this person liking this thing. Go pull it up, type it in, and watch. It'll shit out some fake thing, and it's just, oh, it's so aggravating. So I can't help but go on and leave a comment of, "You didn't make anything. You typed that into a computer. You're not an artist." And then they
Yeah.
don't respond because they know they're not an artist. I should just learn to just move on, but I can't help but scream at these guys like, you didn't make shit. Like Chuck says here, like quote unquote, make me an X-Men comic with these characters in it fighting Magneto. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Dude, man, it sounds like the holodeck. Once they get this hooked up to video, which they're already doing, and then once they get this holographic, that's the holodeck.
Oh, and I want a holodeck. Like for pure like recreation, but like yeah, that's totally right, man. Yeah. Grant Lankard, hello, Grant. Yeah, yeah, I mean, a holodeck. Like if they could come up with that, even like getting it to the point of like just like virtual reality where it's so real, people will just strap themselves in that for days and just disappear. Like people will just be like, it'll come out and people will be talking about it, and then stories will come out. So and so has been strapped in for 48 hours himself for days,
Yep.
and 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 it's going to become this whole other thing. Yeah, I would be on a holodeck. 100%. Uh,
Oh,
especially
D
level.
man, I'm from Georgia, man. I'm a Southern boy.
Oh
I live
yeah,
in Florida now, but I'm from Georgia.
Grant. Yes. Uh, do me a favor, Grant. Remind me, message me. Don't let me forget. I mean, I'll be available, but because he was going to have me join up on his YouTube, and please, yeah, you can whatever you want to do as far as you know promote it or whatever. If you want to shout that out, but don't let me forget. I mean, again, I'll be available. It'll happen. No worries. I just I got different things going on at different times in my existence with work and life and kids and all that various stuff. So I need some help remembering some of these things. But looking forward to it. D Man says, Southern boys, I got family from the South, Tennessee, Missouri, Georgia, and Arkansas. Chuck says, holodeck addiction will become a bigger problem than fentanyl. Right?
Yeah.
If I had a holodeck, I mean, again, I just go back to Star Trek where you could go in. I mean, I'm not to sound crude. I'll be gentle, but like you can touch people and interact with them the same way as a real person. If you could go in there and do that stuff, maybe it could solve some problems. I know people that need to be laid and have never ever been. I'm like, here, just go bang the photons and light, please. Like, just just get this out of your system or something. I've actually thought about like if a holodeck could actually exist, like people who have like murderous urges, like actual murderers, maybe they go into the holodeck and start murdering holographic people, but not actual real people, and therefore it like drops murder rates. I've had these thoughts in my head, like, would that work? Is that something that people would do?
Or would it wet their whistle and
You
make
could
them
have,
want it more?
yeah, it could have the exact opposite. In fact, they're like stabbing stabbing to death people on the holodeck is awesome, but I know that blood is fake. I want the real thing. Oh my God, Chuck.
Reminds me of video games.
Yeah, yeah. Chuck's like, I'm on the holodeck all day long with Megan Fox, except she's disease. Oh, I mean, that's true, 100%. I mean, like, and I'm like, it's not going to be just Megan Fox. I could think of a couple, and
What about two Megan Foxes?
how about right? You know what's better than one Megan Fox? Two Megan Fox. Oh, it's so crazy. I mean, like, not trying to be crude, but you 100% know that's what would happen. Because if it was at that level of realism, that's why it works in Star Trek because humanity has evolved to a benevolent race that doesn't do fucked up shit for the most part, and so
Yeah,
but they still do it, but it's not in like a perceived as like a creepy way. But modern humanity would be just a train wreck of debauchery. But fine. But like Chuck says, he's like, that would not work. People would escalate that shit. Chuck's like, they're all ganging up on me. The multiple Megan Foxes. Oh no, stop. Oh no, what do I do? Okay, just get it over with. Oh my God.
wow, man, I'm getting a lot done. I am cutting some corners. I'm gonna go back and do like deeper shading, but I'm getting a lot done.
I kind of find that myself when you just kind of get locked into this and just talking and you just kind of just keep noodling away and you
Yeah,
look back, you're like, huh, I kind of did a thing. So I hope it's a positive experience for you, sir.
absolutely has been. Yeah.
Someone's saying he was saying just a minute ago, like, not impressed with people saying that sort of AI is just another tool for artists. It's not. It's a tool for non-artists to avoid having to get actual artists for it. Yeah, and they skip the entire like putting in the time and effort to make a thing. So it's such bullshit. Chuck's like, humanity has evolved beyond constantly thinking about using their junk. Yeah, that's Star Trek. That being said, modern humanity is use me for your dirty desires, Megan. I can't stop all of you. It's exactly what would happen. Like anybody who doesn't think that is just delusional, because I know I would be right there in line.
Well, Mr. Rob, I'm gonna give you a heads up. I probably got about 10 more minutes, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to take off.
No, that's totally fine. That's right about the same kind of time frame me and Jessica end up doing. You know,
Cool.
a 2 hour thing. And I don't know how it is for you, but for me, 2 hours flies by like that. It's like, have we been here 2 hours? Like we were a little late. It was like quarter after five, but I'm always kind of surprised at how quickly the stuff kind of like the time's gone by, and I'm like, oh, all right, well. But thank you for jumping on.
Yeah,
We
man.
should
Thank you
do
for
this
having
more,
me.
do this again.
Absolutely.
Um, and someone saying if you can get your thing figured out where you want to and can, we should definitely do that. I'd like to chat with all you guys. I've had it in my head. I've wanted to chat with you, Dan, and um, someone saying, and Mark Domowitz over on the Discord channel. I'd love to chat with all you guys and do these lives. A 2 hour show. Brunson's calling dibs on Megan. Hey, that's the thing with holodeck Megan is she can be duplicated in mass and she won't mind. This conversation went to a real creepy place. I can't wait till Jessica. I'm going to tell her, like, you won't believe it. We talked about the things we would do on a holodeck with Megan Fox, and she'd be like, "Glad I missed that one." Honestly, Jessica would honestly be like, then she'd be like, "Be for real, I would do the same thing." She would 100% say that shit. So that's why she's my bud. D-Man's got a question for you. He says, "Question for Dan: How do you come up with the looks for your characters?"
um. Well, I don't know. So I started out, before I even started drawing the comic book, I was trying to. First of all, I was trying to learn how to draw again because I hadn't drawn since the late '90s. So I was just practicing characters, and then started coming together. And then, of course, when I started drawing them, they looked like crap because I wasn't used to doing like sequential art every day. And just over time, and I also like to change their outfits, right? So these two characters we've seen before, but they weren't dressed like this. I try to make it. You know, honestly, a superhero outfit is kind of cheesy. Would you wear the same thing every day? No, you probably have a couple different outfits, right? So I try to take that approach too.
That's a good point.
I mean, these aren't superheroes, but they're. I don't know. I don't have a better answer for you there, buddy.
It's a good answer. It makes sense. I mean, that's something I've always thought about a lot too. Is like these characters would not wear the same thing. It's one thing if Superman, like, all right, I'm going to change in my uniform in the phone booth and go out and save people. That makes sense. And Batman's outfit can change to almost anything as long as he's got a mask with pointy ears and a cape. It's Batman. You know what I mean? He can have armor or spandex or whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, some of these characters, whether superhero or not, would like it would make more sense to see them in a variety of stuff rather than just the same thing every issue.
Keeps it fresh for me too.
Yeah, for real.
Marge's closet.
Yeah, that's funny. Chuck, you missed it. He says, "There's enough holodeck Megan for everyone." See, it's this all works out. This is all. It's not a problem. Chuck says, "I wear the same thing every day. I have several different sets of the same clothes, just like that." It's like I got blue jeans and a couple t-shirts, and then I'll have a couple of nice things on the off chance you ever like. I'm gonna go out on a date, which like never happens, but I gotta look nice sometimes. But day to day, it's like I do not give a shit.
Yeah, but we're real people.
We are real people,
If we made a comic about Chuck, I'd put him in different outfits.
right? Let's see. Now you got to throw in a character in your book just in the background. Call him Chuck. And we'll know. He's got like a pen, you know, as a weapon.
There you go.
D-Man says Adam Warren has a comic where the girl's costume is always tearing apart. That's so unfortunate. These hot girl characters go on these adventures and their outfits always end up shredded. Ah, Chuck says, I'm serious. I always the Hanes black pocket t-shirt with either black sweats or black basketball shorts, depending on the season. There you go. See, there's your character description right there, Dan. Now you've got the character description.
All right. I'll get to work on it.
Right.
I don't like the way that turned out.
I've had a couple people ask me, like, are you drawing a comic book where a woman's going to stab a baby to death? Which is what I'm illustrating here. And the answer is that's yes, that is the intention. But don't worry, our heroes. I've done some fucked up stuff in my comic with the murders of people. I am not having a baby stabbed to death. I'm just going to have the threat of a baby stabbed to death. Because my heroes rescue the child.
Now I'm seeing the Dave Chappelle where he's kicking the baby, punting the baby. You remember that from the Chappelle show?
It's familiar. It's been so long since I've seen the Chappelle show. I
Yeah.
love it. It was so many good skits. I tried to remember. I'm gonna have to look it up. You know, the other thing that you digital fellas don't have to worry about is wet ink getting smudged by your dumbass hands crossing over into it, which is another reason I like to have multiple pages. I can fiddle around here, set it aside, let the ink dry while I'm working on another one, because really screw yourself up.
Well, I feel like I kind of have something equivalent to that. Is like when I go to rest my hand down, my this part of my hand or where this part of my hand,
Yeah.
rest it down. It'll make a mark, or it might if I'm on the eraser, it might erase. And I always find like little mistakes, like, oh yeah, I tapped my hand there.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. That's the digital equivalent. I get it.
Yeah,
Chuck says typical male power fantasy using women and children as tropes to motivate your characters. 100%. That's what I'm doing. Women and children are things. And then he says, I hate wet ink. Yeah, I'm sure, especially considering his history and everything he's done. Like, here's some beautiful pencils by the artist. Don't fuck it up. Don't smear the ink.
God, that's way too much pressure for me.
Right? So much pressure. Like, oh my god. So I'm like, that's why I think a lot of artists are probably happy to get like blue line pencils or something like that, or not have to like work over the original. But
Yep.
can you imagine like getting a page from a penciler that you could tell they put everything they had into it, and you're like, don't spill the bottle of ink on this. He will kill me, and I'll stand there and take it because I deserve it. Mhm.
I wonder how many times art has been ruined. Like there's got to have been cases, right, where someone has to redo a whole page.
You would think so. I hear horror stories about people putting papers in the mail, ship them out, and they just get lost. They're just gone.
Yeah.
I would be so mad. I would shit myself if somebody like, yeah, they got lost in the mail. I don't know what would be worse, whether an inker spilled ink on it or something, or they got lost in the mail. What would be more frustrating? D-Man says, I have a character from my 90s stuff that's a Savage Dragon ripoff. His name is Land Shark. That sounds like an 80s cartoon just waiting to be made. Take and pitch that to the animation studios. This land shark, he eats people, especially children. They're like, well, we might need to retool some of the ideas. We love the visual. How about he helps children? Like, all right. Oh, there's an interesting thing Chuck says right here. There's a cover by John Buscema's Avengers run in the 70s that was lost and then rediscovered for his artist edition, a cool little time capsule of what his stuff looked like during that period. That'd be interesting where it's vanished for however long for whatever reason, then it gets rediscovered like, "Oh my god, look at that."
Yeah.
That would be incredibly fascinating. God, I used to hate drawing this character's metallic face and his mask because it was kind of a pain in the ass. But now that I've kind of gotten used to it, I feel like I can. I mean, it's going to suck if everyone else is looking at this and saying it sucks, but I kind of like it now. I kind of like the design, and I feel
Hmm.
like I get a version of it that looks kind of cool. I enjoy it now, but I hated it when I started because I'm like, "Ugh, what a stupid design." Now I love it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with him because I kind of like the way you've handled him and have drawn him and everything. He's obviously Trap Jaw is my favorite, but I'm interested to see what's going to happen with him.
I'm trying not to give spoilers. Trapjaw has become kind of my one of my favorite characters, just in the way I've kind of changed his character and the reasons I try to give his motivation. And I have him like I have characterization for him that I'm like, I kind of like this. Like he butts heads with Fisto. Fisto's the leader of the team. He's always butting heads with him and challenging him and being a pain in the ass. But when it comes crunch time, Trapjaw's the most reliable guy in a
Yeah.
way. And I'm like, I kind of like that. It's like I feel like I've given Trapjaw motivation, like somebody who has lost all his life and he found a different path and he's actually excelling at a thing he never thought he would by being, he won't say he's a good guy, but he's pretty damn good at what he does and he's been given an opportunity. And then him and Shira have big conflicts all the time, but I don't know. I just kind of like, and then I have kind of a little bit of a payoff for it in the forthcoming book. Not payoff, but just I think a kind of interesting kind of culmination of everything. So I don't know. I feel like I've come up with some stuff that I find it interesting. I just hope that other people find it interesting too. We'll see, right?
Yeah, that because I have a character that I kind of started off with them just being a background character, but they've kind of grown into their own and just just naturally of overwriting the story just becomes something different than I originally imagined. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Sometimes these, as I've discovered doing this thing, it like story kind of starts taking you in a direction. It like
Mhm.
forces you over this way because it's just going this way. It's not what I intended, but it's where it's going. And I'm like, ooh, I did not see this connection or this situation. But as I've gone on, I'm like, oh, here we go. All right. I've had things pop up that I just didn't expect. It's just this kind of organically kind of come out of the story. And I'm like, this is fun.
Yeah.
Um, Tyrez Bunsen says, question about that. Do you think it would have been the same outcry if a lesbian superhero had her girlfriend or lover killed in a comic to move the story, as opposed to the like the trope of the male hero?
Hmm.
That's an interesting. I think, like Chuck says in response, it just like if it's well written, I think it's all fine. Just if it's well presented and not done for like seemingly just I don't know cheap like shock value. I think anything can work.
I'm a very novice writer, so all my shit's gonna be cheesy and tropey and
Dude, I laughed out loud 100% in a good way in your books when, uh, again, because I think I was telling you I didn't know which one was book one and book two, so I was just which one's first, but the opening where you did like a riff with your characters, but the like the Muppet Show, the
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, this is so great. And then you did the other one that was the A Team.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is absolutely brilliant. I'm like, you've immediately from those pages hooked me. I'm like, oh my god, I'm on board. I just was so in love with it, man. That worked so well. I'm
That
like,
was fun to do, yeah.
I would have never thought of that, and I'm like, brilliant, brilliant, sir. Thank you. Because the Muppets are kind of a thing that not a lot of people kind of get. I think my kids would be like, "What are these talking dolls?" I'm like, no, this is awesome. This is Kermit the Frog. Shut up. He's awesome. He's in love with this abusive pig. This is these are great. And they're like, all right, Dad, if you say so. Can I go watch Minecraft now? I'm like, get out of my house, son. Stick your lip, boy. And speaking of, again, coming up with designs that I feel like like this face on this strong arm, but I mean, it's not the same kind of trap jaw look, but it's I kind of like the way I've kind of learned to draw him with his like shiny metal textures. And I don't know. I don't know why I kind of like this panel that I'm showing right there. I kind of feel like I just kind of come up with a way of doing them that I kind of think it works.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I like to make things have a shiny metal texture. And then I hand it off to Chuck and he shows us what shiny metal texture actually looks like. I'm like, oh Lord, there it is. But yeah, comics are fun. You have to be a little crazy to want to do them because there's a lot of time sitting in front of a page with nothing on it, just waiting to be filled. But if you see it through to the end, it's worth it.
Dude, I've dropped a lot of balls in my life trying to get this done. I need to once I get this done, I need to go back and fix some things, I think. Take care of some business I've put off. This hand doesn't look right.
But yeah, whenever you need to take off, don't hesitate. I'm not that I'm trying to say get lost or anything, but just whenever your time runs out, it's just getting kind of close to me for me too. So
Yeah, let me finish this arm and then I'll probably call it quits.
yeah,
But again, I really appreciate you inviting me on here. I had a good time.
yeah. Well, thanks for being willing and all that. And I was like, I just might have to solo it. I don't know. And again, I don't know why I didn't think to run it by you. I did hit up someone saying first, and we were like, I don't know if you saw us talking back and forth trying to see if we could figure out a way to make it work on short notice. But yeah, well, it's been fun.
Yeah, I sorry I haven't been very been a big participant in the Discord channel. I'm on Slack all day at work, and I just it reminds me too much of that, and I need to get away from that in my spare time. You know.
Oh, I get it. I get it. Yeah, no worries. I mean, I tend to, I'll go a big, portions of time with not even getting on there. I'm like, it's supposed to be my server. I should be interacting with these guys more, So I try to jump on there, but I get it. Sometimes, like, I got to unplug from this stuff and just not.
Yeah. But I do get the messages, well, the notifications. So I do kind of keep ears on the chat, but I just don't jump in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm the same. Chuck, yeah, I see the conversation you guys are having about some of these writers. Kelly Sue Daconic, whatever her name was, wasn't she the one that says, "If you don't like my politics, don't buy my book"? that's a reason enough for me to not buy anyone's book. If you just tell me, if you don't like me, fuck you, don't buy my work. I'm like, I kind of want everyone to buy my work, regardless of politics. So I would just keep myself out of it, is just my opinion. And I thought that was a really kind of pretentious thing to say, in my opinion. But it really put me off being interested in anything that, and not just her, but anyone would be like, you don't like what I got to say? Then don't buy my shit. I'm like, okay, I won't. No problem. You just lost a potential buyer by just being like, I don't need you. Okay.
I mean, I get that point of view, but also I'm okay with telling someone to fuck off too if they don't like me. So I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. I try to just keep my opinions on that type of stuff, like on
Oh
the
yeah,
political world, like, just to myself, because again, it's nice to have a place to separate the nonsense of the real world and just like, let's just enjoy art and comics and stuff like that. But unless
yep.
you're someone who wants to make a statement, then that's different. I get it. That's a valid thing to do.
All right, my friend. Oh, good timing. My pencil was almost out of battery.
But you're like, well, done anyway. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on here. This was fun, and we'll definitely need to do it again if you're interested.
Here, I'll give you a quick preview of the latest colored page that I just got in.
Awesome. Yes, please. You still got Giovanna, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Love the way this turned out. All right, man. I
Very cool.
appreciate it again, and everybody in chat. Thank you. I was very nervous, but you guys made me feel comfortable. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think what you do it a couple of times is kind of like, just talk and draw, and who cares? Everyone else can kind of, you know, you become comfortable with it as we go. All
Yeah. Yeah.
right, man.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Yep.
Take care. See everybody. Everybody have a great day tomorrow. Y'all take it easy.
Yep. See ya, Dan.
All right, now it's going to take me like 5 minutes to figure out how to get my phone out of here and turn it off.
Right? Like, unhook it, and hit the button.
All right. See ya.
Yeah. I watched some of the EVS, Ethan Van, going on about the kayfabe thing. I watched some of it before I had to move on to something else. But yeah, he jumped on it. Didn't
How do I turn this shit off?
There should be an X in the top corner, I think.
Oh, it's not clicking.
I don't know.
All right.
There we go. Well, I'm still on here. Maybe his will disconnect here eventually. Tyrez Brunson, you say, I try not to do politics. You try not to do politics super low in my comics or writing because my hero is like Spawn. He kills those in his way, but in a secret way. I like it. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, there we go. It cleaned up. There we go. Yeah, I might need to jump off here too, guys. I gotta go get me some dinner and stuff. Yeah, thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it. And Chuck, we should plan one of these too. It'd be awesome to talk with you about some of this stuff. We should do that. All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.